Welcome, everybody. You are listening to the Omnichannel Podcast, a podcast from digital marketers to digital marketers. I'm your host, Dominique Legrand, and my mission is to help fellow marketers and entrepreneurs to grow their businesses online. So buckle up and let's get started. Today's first episode, I had the honor to have Kirtana with me as my first guest, and she will talk to you about and teach you guys about how to build systems in your business, what are the most common bottlenecks in a business, and how to scale, optimize, and automate certain parts of your business in order for you to get more free time and able to take a step back to avoid entrepreneurial burnout. So let's get into the podcast episode. Enjoy, you guys. Hi, Kirtana. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to be with you and having you on this first episode of the podcast. You've been starting out as a freelancer, right? So can you just tell us a bit more about your journey? Because right now you are working with business owners to kind of have this shift from not being so involved in their businesses and how to optimize and automate to prevent burnout. So can you just tell me about your journey from a freelancer to how did you get here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So essentially, a quick story would be I started 4.5 years ago as a freelancer and, started subcontracting work for somebody else, being a Pinterest manager. And over time, they passed on their clients because they were pivoting and kept upskilling, kept learning. And that's essentially why we are in the same mastermind. Had to upskill to eventually get to Cat Howell and understand sales funnels, how to automate your lead gen. And it was around here that I still honestly did feel there were information gaps. And throughout this process of upskilling, what I have sort of gone ahead and learned is how to build systems and automations into your ecosystem. And this is what essentially would either make or break a successful business. So, when you're building a machine, you want it to be as efficient as possible. And that is where systems and automations come in. And the simplest way to think of a system is McDonald's. Like the only reason they could replicate it is because they had a system. It was easy for anybody could kind of, just put those two buns together and whatever is required in it. So, yes.
So you did mention that you work with entrepreneurial burnout. Like, how you define burnout, and what in your career, what you have been seeing entrepreneurs suffering from burnout?
That's a question very close to the heart. So, yeah. So what I do see every single day is entrepreneurs start off with the dream of, this business, and it's going to be awesome. They're going to be the boss and they kind of are going to be their own, whatever.
Yeah.
And the reality then kind of hits them where that's really not the case, because they're not just doing the fulfillment side of it. They're probably doing, all of the other things, which is running the business. And business is a great teacher. But what I do see people get stuck is when you're working so much in the business, sometimes it's hard to get out of the business and see what's really going to help you, because you're kind of caught in the swans. And that is where somebody like me would come and help you. And you're probably working 70 to 80 hours a week. And that is no romantic way to run a business, because you didn't start the business to run you. You started the business so, it could kind of help you have a better life. So my goal is to remove that entrepreneurial burn, which would come in with the overwhelm of running a business, through systems and automations, and essentially helping you to run a very efficient McDonald's kind of a system for your business.
Before we get into really the how to, and this is what exactly you're going to give us some tips as well on just how to optimize a bit better and what are the bottlenecks of the businesses. Before we get into that, if you don't mind, we could talk a little bit about this romanticizing of long business hours. For some reason, I feel like I've been sold that it's okay to work 16 hours a day because struggle is good. Just everyone does it. Just suck it up. And I just feel like it's such a misconception that somehow if you just work 16 hours a day every single day, then that's a good way to live because everybody does that. So what's your take on that misconception?
So that's a great point that you bring about, because society does just say work hard, work hard, work hard. And you're
Yeah.
probably kind of going to box yourself into that, saying maybe it's me, I'm not working hard enough, which is probably true. But if your hard work is not going to lead to measurable, tangible results, you're basically doing the same thing every single day. You're stuck in the hamster wheel. Just because the hamster runs on the wheel does not make it more productive. So, the whole idea of systemizing and automating is to really be able to bring in a team who over time can kind of run your business so that you can slowly get yourself out of the business. And every owner's biggest job is to produce content for their business, at least the online business world. And what really happens with being able to produce content is it's time consuming, and you don't have the time to produce content for yourself. And I am kind of a victim of this. I would always tell all my clients saying, hey, you've got to put out content. Then never did I have the time to kind of put out content for myself. So the idea is to set up systems for everything from marketing to sales to, do you have a CRM? Do you have an email list? How many emails are going out? And really slowly to bring you out of the system so that you can really be the visionary of your business, because that is the right way of running a business, not working 16 hours a day.
Yeah, I think, you made such a great point. I think everybody can say that this is exactly what they want. They just want something that can run without them being so involved. Because obviously, once you get started, yes, that's your baby and you want to be involved in your business. But once you get into that point, you kind of just want to step out. It does sound like a daunting task for any entrepreneur to achieve. I think you can totally help with just the how to get started with this process of automating, because I think it's just something that right now, oh my God, I need a team. So do I have to have like HR experience? Like, where do I get started? So what would you be saying to those people who are just frightened by the fact that it's a huge task to automate and do all of that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So just a disclaimer is, anybody who's running a business, the first biggest piece that you must have, which is going to either guarantee your success or failure, is product market fit. So if you have product market fit, and what that essentially means is you're promising your customer a certain something, and if there is the guaranteed transformation of that, and you have buyers buying from you because there is proof of concept, you do have product market fit. Now, if you don't have product market fit, whatever I tell you is really just going to be a slow death. And so I'm going to start off with the premise that everybody who are going to listen to the show at this point are going to question themselves and say, hey, do I have product market fit? And
how do we determine if you do it? Is it like how, like, feedback wise or sales wise, like the numbers are talking, or how do we make sure that, okay, what if I don't, like, let me just get this out of the way to make sure everybody can move on to the next step?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because this is something my mentor Ravi Abuwala says, who is the one who's trained me with the systems. And he would always say, if you reach out to people, and so basically he says you must have some sort of research about your offer before you even sell it. So go out there, reach out in your ecosystem, in your network, in LinkedIn, and try to get a little bit of assessment as to what really is the pain points of everybody. And once you understand that, and at that point of time when you craft your offer, go back to the same people and check with them if they're willing to pay money for that. And when they are willing to pay money for the offer, which is going to kind of make their life easier, you do have product market fit. And so once that is proven, the only step really is to build a system around it so that there are new leads that are coming in, and new leads are kind of nurtured correctly, and then they go into a sales ecosystem, and everything is data driven. Emotions are great. Emotions is what really kind of brings you to the assessment that there's a problem, but always verify it with data, because many times I have been emotional about certain things. And when I go back to the data, it speaks something else. So
Yeah.
2 plus 2 is always going to be equal to 4. So, but anger could be variable. Like I could be angry for different things. You could be angry for different things. I could be happy for different things. So, basically remove the guesswork out of building a successful business.
I think it's so important what you said is to reach out to people on LinkedIn, because I think even to test the product market fit, people would just go to the family and friends and, hey, what do you think? It's a great idea. I think so too. But I think a lot of people just lie or just like, oh yeah, sure, like you go. And I think even that fact that just getting that feedback loop and just getting that real-time validations where really people put the money behind an idea and the concept and you can really test it out, that speaks volumes than your family or friends or whoever you are,
Exactly. Like you could have your mom buy it for you, but that doesn't show that you're product market fit. And really, the money part is what's going to change the game. Once somebody is willing to pay the money for the transformation, you do know this is a problem and you do know there's a market which requires you to solve this. And this doesn't have to be a crazy numbers game, right? You don't have to go after 10,000 people. You probably have to just go after 15 to 20 people. And, you'll kind of get the patterns as to what really is their problem. And that is how you kind of establish product market fit.
You did mention the problem part, that really a business should essentially solve a problem. Do you think that really can make or break a business, where how effectively they're solving the problem and how much someone can, for example, charge for a problem solution? What is your take on the problem solving part?
So I think step one is to really identify the kind of problems the industry has. And step two is probably go back and talk to them and start with something realistic. Like if you are going to be charging $2,000 for your service, is your $2,000 going to come back to the client within a month, within 2 months? Like what is the return of investment for them? And if it's going to be 1 year, of course, they're not going to buy the product. But if you can kind of show it to them that, you're probably going to get this in 30 days, in 45 days, then it's a no-brainer. So essentially, the way I would approach pricing would really be, how quickly does the client make this back? The sooner they make it back, and as people start buying it and as you start having social proof, you could always up your prices.
Yeah, that's a really good measurement of your services and products. So okay, let's move into really the thick and thin of the topic, and just let's move into really the automation and the optimization part. So you already mentioned your first tip on the product market fit. Like, what else do you think are important for someone who wants to kind of optimize and avoid that burnout to do?
Okay, so when you look at business, it's going to be a lot of departments that need your attention, right? So the first thing as an entrepreneur that you must try to do is stop being reactive, but start being responsive. So what I mean by that is be purpose driven. And what really makes or breaks a business is really sales of the business. So you have to always start kind of dealing or fighting the problem which is closest to the money. So once you establish product market fit, do you have enough leads coming in? And if leads are coming in, what is the sales looking like? And if sales are coming through, what is the show up rate? So when you look at the overall thing, the first thing that would come in would be leads. And the last thing would be probably the show up rate. So as a business owner, you're probably going to be like, hey, which piece do I move first? Because it's literally like a game of chess. So the first thing that you must attack for sure is, how do I increase the show up rate? Because we're thinking of, small hinges, big doors, tiny levers that you want to pull, which kind of don't take too much effort, but, are compounding in terms of results. So if you had to just go back to the example I gave you, the show up rate is 50%. And you still have people booking in, you have everybody filling out the application, but why is the show up rate 50%? Now, if you could make that 75%, would that increase your close rate? So that's the first problem you would start tackling. You won't start from the front, but you start from the back. And some problems are a lot easier to tackle than the others. Like, for instance, sales would be the most complex problem for you to tackle. You could definitely tackle fulfillment. You could definitely see if you have SOPs for that. And, is
What
it
are
delegated?
SOPs? Just for those who don't know.
Yes. So SOPs stand for standard operating procedures. And every business really has SOPs, but most of them don't document it. So essentially, an SOP is a step-by-step list of the tasks and the order in which you would approach it, essentially trying to replicate the same results, whether I do it, whether you do it, whether somebody else does it, because the steps are laid out. A 5-year-old must be able to get what you're kind of doing. And yeah, so with SOPs for fulfillment, then it becomes simpler. So then you could have a Tom who's kind of, managing a few clients. Then you could have a Lena who's kind of managing a few clients. But the end product really is uniform and consistent. So the first piece of the puzzle, once you have product market fit, is to ensure you're kind of delivering what you're promising, because that's what is going to build the integrity of yourself as a business owner, and also the way people are going to look at the business. And once the fulfillment is taken care of, the next step really is to ensure you're kind of collecting testimonials. There's a system to collect testimonials again. Like, how many of us do reach out to our clients, even though we have amazing success, find out from them, hey, how is it going? Do you enjoy working with us? And if at any point of time they say, it's been great working with you guys, have kind of really helped me, then you could definitely reach out to them and say, could you just kind of help us with a case study? And most often than not, when people are happy and they thank you, they're ready to kind of give you a case study. And so essentially try to have a tiny system around every piece. So, from case studies, you're going to try to get more clients. So it's going to be a cycle start.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the more streamlined and efficient your systems get, the better it will really be. So in this situation, I just spoke about the product market fit, which is the offer. I spoke about the client fulfillment, and I also spoke about SOPs. Let's further go down. Like, then what happens is, once you have all of this, maybe you started off by just doing organic outreach and you started getting few people coming in every day. So over time, what you definitely must do is get a sales funnel, because that's like really throwing gasoline, right? And that's when you're going to really attract the right kind of people. So when you start a sales funnel, if you don't track correctly, you could be burning money very, very quickly. And what I mean by tracking is, are you hitting the standard benchmarks of the industry? Is your click-through rate 1% or 2%? And if that is the click-through rate, what is the opt-in rate? And if the opt-in rate is lesser than 15 to 30%, that's really a bottleneck that you must look into. Maybe it's the messaging. Maybe the ad is not carrying the scent into the landing page. Maybe the landing page is not loading quickly. So, essentially, each of these are going to be tiny problems that are going to pop up in a business. But having your pillars in place, which is client fulfillment, which is lead generation, which is a sales team with a CRM, all of that is going to help you. And tackling the problems in the right order is really, really key.
Oh, there's a lot of things you mentioned, and a lot of great ideas. But again, I think just to go back to the beginning, which was the let's establish that the product is validated, the idea is working, and you were just talking about the difference between the show up rate and the fact that people are engaging with the ads. I think something like that. Can you just give us, perhaps for the listeners, just to talk about the show up rate? Like, what are those? Can you give us some tactics to make sure we increase the show up rate, for example?
Okay. So
without going into too much details, just like tiny things, because as you mentioned, if you can just give us a few examples of how would you go about increasing the show up rate without really going into too much details.
Okay, so in the situation that we're speaking about, the show up rate is 50%, which means people are booking the call and people are not showing up for the call. So the tiniest thing that you could do is check if somebody is calling the prospect before the call and checking with them and say, hey, I'm looking forward for the call today. Will you be coming in? Things like that, just adding a few touch points and really once I book a call with your agency, how many case studies or how many email flows am I hearing back from you? Like, there is this rule where somebody has to consume 7 hours of content before they really become a fan of you.
Mm-hmm.
So have you tried to have the 7 hour content in place? Have you
Hmm.
shared and engaged with this prospect, before they kind of jump on the call with you? Or is it just, a hard sell? Because those kind of sales calls don't really go very well. What really helps is when marketing and sales go hand in hand, when they're really Siamese twins. Your marketing really helps your sales efforts. So in this situation, tiniest thing that you would do is probably start reaching out to the prospects to see if they're going to come, and increase the touch points or reduce the touch points depending
Mm-hmm.
on what works. You split test it.
Okay, so let's go back to some of the bottlenecks that you mentioned. Can you give us some more ideas on that, like some more advices? You mentioned the whole cycle. It sounds like very daunting to start out. Is this something that even I can do without a team, or do I have to have like a whole team around me? One that produces content, one that closes the sales, one that handles the support. Like, do I have to have all those people around me, or can I just get started by myself on this whole automation journey?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question, and the reality of it is, you all of us just have 24 hours a day, right? So the way you use your time should be really, really efficient. And as an entrepreneur who's starting off, or probably in their journey, you have to be very capital efficient. You cannot really hire everybody and kind of get them on payroll, because you don't know if the business is going to crash tomorrow, right? So you want to grow one step at a time. And the way to do that is to really understand that today you have a global pool which you can access. Like, somebody sitting in the US can really hire somebody from Philippines and start working with them. So the first thing that you must try to do is get a VA, and really try to whatever tasks that could be done by somebody else which are not really that important should just be handed over to a VA, which could be SOP'd out, because then what's happening is a plate full is slowly going to start getting empty. And that is when you can start focusing and adding more quality problems that you can solve as a business owner. And there is definitely a hiring structure. The way to definitely hire is start off with a VA. And there's two parts to it. As an entrepreneur, there is you running your business, and there's also you running your personal life. So how much of your personal life is something that you're kind of putting time into? Are you preparing your meals? Are you spending time doing the laundry? Can you outsource all of this, somewhere else where it's cheaper? So you could really optimize the way you're using your time, and slowly start hiring up for lead generation. And sales is something that's the last part that you should ever outsource, because
Why do you think is that? Why do you think you should keep that?
you should really keep that, because as a business owner, you're going to be the most passionate about your business. And the passion obviously is going to shine through in your voice when you take the sales calls. And if you were to outsource that too quickly, two things could happen. If you don't fix your lead problem and you're going to get a sales rep, say they have 5 leads in 5 days, and they don't really close any. So they don't really have the interest to stay on, because most of the sales reps we bring on are commission based. And the only way you can bring in sales is when you have enough quality leads coming in. So when you don't have quality leads coming in, getting a salesperson is further going to reduce your chances and probably going to be a burden, because at that point you can't really measure, hey, is it the salesperson who's screwing up, or is it my lead quality?
You don't know. Yeah.
Exactly. So until you have a steady pipeline, don't worry about that.
Okay. So you were saying that there are some tasks that definitely need to be delegated to a virtual assistant. And we can talk about, we don't have to go into details where to find them. I think it's very easy for anyone to Google and just find a virtual assistant nowadays. But you did say that the sales is the last thing that you should ever hand over, and you should keep holding on to it until you really have everything figured out. So,
yes.
So you were saying that, so what are the tasks that are in a like a business like agency? Let's just talk about like a normal digital marketing agency. Like, what are the tasks that you say, oh, that is definitely something that you need to outsource, or does it definitely need to keep? Not just the sales, like just as a beginner, what are the tasks that you would, how do you like pick and choose what tasks you're delegating, what you are keeping to yourself?
Another great question. So, like you said, sales is the last one that you're going to delegate. I would try to keep lead generation in-house as much as possible,
Mm-hmm.
because if you were to outsource lead gen and you can't measure the quality of leads, again, you're going to be burning money very quickly. So try to keep your lead gen in-house and try to focus on one platform at a time. Like, instead of trying to throw money into YouTube, into Facebook, into Google, all at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, just try to see if there is organic organic strategies that you can kind of get your clients from. This could be Upwork, this could be email marketing, cold email, this could be prospecting on LinkedIn. So really start off there, try to get to a certain level. I'm talking about a really beginner here. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so once you kind of have all of that in place, then it's really about getting your sales funnel into order and kind of then ramping that piece of the puzzle really. However, if you are a mid-sized agency and you're throwing money into multiple channels and you have the funds
Mm-hmm.
because you're making 100K a month or 50K a
Yeah.
month, then what really has to be done is measurement. Are you tracking which ad is bringing you the highest number of quality leads? And if you're not tracking, then you could be burning money very quickly or leaving a lot of money on the table really. So for a big agency, it's really tracking. And for
Mm-hmm.
a newer agency, it's really about fine tuning your messaging, fine tuning all of that, trying to get it to work organically first. And that could be a VA task. You don't have to send messages yourself, or a VA could do that. So these are the tasks that you could, a low level, right? Like, you could have somebody do it for you because it's the same every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that will be my recommendation.
Yeah. So you were saying that for a smaller agency, it's about the smaller repetitive tasks that you suggest to be delegated, and everything
Yes.
that's the funnel or sales that should stay in house. And for like a
Yes.
mid-size or bigger agency, it's better to see and how to measure if you have money to spend, and just really find out where is the money not
Yes.
flowing in the right direction, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because tracking really then plays a big deal. Because I've spoken to so many owners who don't know what their cost per lead is, who don't
Mm-hmm.
know what time, what is the time duration for somebody to be a lead to a closed customer,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the close percentages. So, not having these numbers, it's hard for us to make decisions. So, having better tracking systems is
Mm-hmm.
the backbone of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So
Yes, yes.
Kirtana, can you give us some kind of problems and solution that you've been seeing in your practice that reoccurring, and maybe we can discuss the solution for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, this is one problem, and I really want you to really understand the method of thinking here, so that you
Mm-hmm.
could apply it in your
Yeah.
business. So the idea is, let's assume a client is doing cold email, and they have been sending out hundreds of emails every single day, and they're really not getting too many callbacks. So usual method would be, hey, email marketing does not work for me.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's dive deeper. Let's look at your numbers. Okay, you're sending out 100 every single day. What is the open rate? Is it 1%? Is it 2%? So I think standard cold email open rate should be around 5 to 10%.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not hitting 5 to 10%, let's look at what is the problem there. It could be the quality of your email list. Where are you getting your email list from? Or it could be your subject line is not very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of us trying to go and edit out the full copy of the message, which all of us know copywriting is a skill, and trying to change that each time takes hours of time, and kind of fine tune that. That's a big problem to do at one point. So what is the smallest thing that you can change to try to see that there is going to be some kind of result, positive result or outcome from that?
Mm-hmm.
So try to test out email subject lines, because testing a
Mm-hmm.
subject line out is a lot easier than kind of changing the entire body of the email.
Mm-hmm.
And your subject lines, there's two things, right? One is the subject line, one is the first few lines of the email.
Yeah.
So you could also ensure that is not starting with an immediate ask. It could be something which is kind of being curious enough for somebody to click on it to see, hey, what is this really about, and go deeper. And then when you get your open rate high enough and you don't have your response rate coming in, then there is a messaging problem. So Yeah. So the usual method would be, hey, email marketing doesn't work for
Yeah.
me, shut that off and move on. But that's not the way.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting the way you tackle a problem from really starting to the smallest detail, which is okay, instead of saying, well, that sucks, that doesn't work, and really trying to understand what the issue is. I think that takes a different skill set to be that attentive for the details. Okay, let's look at the subject line. Yeah, if you changed it and still not working, the opening rate is still not getting higher. Maybe if it's not the subject line, it's the email list, or it's a different problem. And it's always trying to find it before really going to the extensive work of copywriting a whole new email and spending hundreds of dollars for a professional copywriter to do that, when perhaps the email is fine. It's just that the email list is not the best, or the headline, or or the opening rate. It's so interesting to just dissect that. I think I love the way that you tackle that kind of problem solving part. Do you have any do you have any other like scenarios like that are very repetitive that you see in your practice?
Yeah. So another situation would be, you have a Facebook ad that's running, which is leading into a funnel, and the funnel is simple. First page is an opt-in page. Second page is an application page where you qualify your lead, and third page is a Calendly page or a booking page, and fourth page is a thank you page. So that's a simple structure of the funnel, and your lead quality is really bad. So what would be the first thing that you would try to fix? Would it be the
What would you
funnel?
say? Sorry, if what does that mean that my lead quality is bad for those who are?
It could be that those you're getting on calls with don't have the money. It could be, those you're getting on a call with are not a good fit. So it could be multiple reasons, right? Like why lead quality is bad. So let's assume you have okay, so this is the ecosystem and this is what you're trying to do to get leads. And what is the first thing that you would try to change to improve the quality of leads without, putting in too much effort? Changing the sales funnel, redesigning that is again time consuming. You don't want to start there, right? So go to the basics. What is the click-through rate of the ad? And if the click-through rate is lesser than 1% or 2%, which is the benchmark for cold traffic, then is it probably the creative which you could kind of change? Because changing a graphic is a lot easier than changing the entire funnel. And then going back to it and see if that's improving your click-through rate. It could also be a targeting issue. So, maybe you're not targeting the right set of people. Yeah. So before you go into the funnel, which is, the bigger piece,
the most extended,
exactly, start smaller. And, these are the small changes that's going to make a big difference, because you will start seeing your numbers improve as you start making these small changes, which is simple, right? Like the brain thinks anything that simple is not the right way.
Yeah.
So, but that is the right way to go about it.
Yeah, that's really good as well. I think I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm thinking my funnel is the problem when it's not the funnel. It's everything else. It's either could be the messaging or the targeting. I think that a lot of people would just run in and just change up the funnel right away and think, oh my God, maybe that's why, because the quality of the leads are just not the best. I did have a client with a very, very similar problem, that she was selling a high ticket coaching, and everyone who booked a call were just not the right fit. And she immediately wanted to scrape the whole funnel and like, I don't know, it's just not working. But she did get those clicks. It's just that it's just not the right click.
Yeah. So in a situation like that, that's good. You dig deeper. You're like, okay, you're getting the clicks, but you're not getting the right set of people. What does that mean? Is that a targeting problem? Are you kind of, is your ads too clickbaity, where you're kind of attracting the wrong set of audience? So, just making those tiny changes before shutting the entire system down, is what I would recommend as, kind of changing your entrepreneurial brain to work that way.
Yeah, it's always that keep it simple strategy. I think it's just simple. I think if you had to describe what you do as just the simple changes make a big difference, and just really having that mindset and adopting that mindset is super, super important. Do you have any other scenarios that you'd like to share when it comes to reoccurring problems that you've been seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one thing that I've definitely seen, which would really impact a business financially. So most often, remember how we said, sales is the last thing that you're supposed to
Yeah.
outsource. So what sometimes happens is once you figure your lead generation problem, once that is sorted and you're getting quality leads, then every business owner's immediate next step is, hey, I've got to get a salesperson on. I'm getting leads. I can't keep getting on the sales calls. Wrong. That's not the way to do it. Step one is, are there enough sales assets that you've built before you bring somebody on? What I mean by that is, do you have a bank of call recordings that somebody can start off with just to understand what the business is about? Are you using a CRM which is efficient enough so if somebody were to come in, they exactly know where the last lead was, at which stage was that? And if you're not using a CRM, you first need to get a CRM and improve your tracking really, because tomorrow it's very easy for the salesperson to come and say, hey, the leads are bad. How are you going to prove that? Right? So tracking what's the close rate when you were closing the sales, and how is that going to get impacted with somebody else closing it? And going a lot deeper as to, so get your sales systems in order before you bring somebody on. And the first step usually is to bring a salesperson by themselves. The first thing you're supposed to do is try to bring a setter. So what I mean by a setter is have somebody call all your leads to pre-qualify them before you get on the call with them. Because if you were getting 10 leads a day and you had 5 calls that day, maybe all 5 are not really qualified to work with you because they don't have the money, they don't have the need, they don't really know who you are. So maybe they're a bad fit at that stage. Yeah. So instead of you wasting your time trying to get on a call with everybody, you could have your setter check if they're a good fit or not. And that basically is one of the hardest lever to pull, because as an entrepreneur, you're like, I want to get on a call with everybody, maybe I can help them. So it's very important to have a curation rate, which means how many your curation rate should be really around 50 to 60%, where every lead that comes through, you're not kind of talking to 50 to 60% of your leads, because they're not a good fit. You rather spend your time, money, energy on the leads that are going to become customers, because those are the people who have money to spend. So get a setter first. Once you get a setter, train them enough so that they could kind of become your salesperson. Because when a setter is working with your business, he slowly understands what it takes to be a good salesperson, because they are kind of checking if the leads are a good fit or not. You see how, instead of trying to bring a salesperson straight away, now you have systems in place. You have a setter. You're going step by step. So tomorrow when you bring in a salesperson, everything is measured, everything is tracked, and nothing breaks, but more business is coming through.
Yeah, I think it's such a great optimizing technique. I think even our initial call, I was laughing so hard when you pointed out for me, because I was just complaining, oh my God, I'm not sure if my clients are just getting qualified leads, and like, how do I handle that? Like, well, just get them pre-qualified. Thank you. Exactly. That was such an easy solution. And I think it's such a great idea, what you said about like the optimization part when it comes to you handling the sales calls, right? But then even that could go through initial filtering before, because obviously if you have luckily 60 calls, you'd probably get some calls that are not a good fit, and that could easily be filtered if you had an appointment setter who could just contact them prior to make sure that's a good fit. So you're already saving and optimizing your time and not even getting into a conversation, right? That's the idea.
Exactly. Like, get detachment out of dealing with, prospects. You're here, you're a business trying to help other businesses, and you can't get on the call with everybody because you don't have that time.
Yeah. It's about really valuing your own time as well as the business owner. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about kind of the mindset of going into the optimizing, automating journey, because I think a lot of business owners, and I can speak for others when I talk about myself, I had a really hard time even delegating certain tasks, because I feel like, well, I'm the only person who can do that task, and I feel like, well, by giving out, and I think I can talk to a lot of business owners that I feel like they need to stay involved, because if they don't, someone's going to mess it up for them. So what kind of like a mindset shift would you be telling those people who are just fearful of letting go because they're just so afraid that's going to be messing up their whole business?
Yeah, that's a problem every entrepreneur has. But exactly. So I had that too, because I always thought I'm special. Nobody can do it as well as me. So,
Yeah,
that
maybe.
is,
No,
yes.
it's not that you're special, but it's like you care the most about your business, and somehow no one else can be that enthusiastic, right? Like you are.
Right. So you're right. But you have to understand, as a business owner, you have 24 hours a day, out of which you're probably going to sleep 8 hours, which, is going to slowly subtract the number of hours that you're going to work out, which is recommended so that, you can run a healthy business. But really, don't start off with the complex tasks. Start off with the easy tasks. Once you have your messaging, having your VA reach out to people on LinkedIn, it's not different. It's not too customized each time. It's the same thing. So try to start off with the repetitive tasks, and over time you also have to bring in a qualified talent. Like, if you're going to bring in a media buyer, you're going to hire a quality media buyer. And when you have the money to spend and you price correctly, you can bring in quality talent. And that's when you will be confident about, okay, I can pass on this piece of cake to this person, and I know they can kind of take care of it. And SOPs, always have SOPs, document every single thing you're doing, so that there is a benchmark of how to deliver the product, right? And over time, it's only going to be improving your SOPs, so the experience gets better and better.
Just maybe it's a pro tip. Can you give us perhaps some ideas on creating SOPs, and like maybe a tool or even a software or something where people can use to kind of manage that part of their business? Do you have any idea for that suggestion?
Yes. So I always do believe tools. There's no tool which is going to be as efficient unless and until you use it.
Yes.
So you could start off with something as basic as a Google Doc, and kind of just write down what are the things that you're doing. Document it every single day for the next 1 week and see, hey, audit your day. Basically see, okay, I get up at this time, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. And over a week, you will definitely know, okay, these are repetitive tasks. These could be outsourced. And, over time, you'll have your SOP, which is getting fine-tuned. Then you could get a little more complex. Then you could think of, okay, can I put this in Asana? Can I put this in Notion? Can I put this in ClickUp? Because everything, or Trello, all of these are just softwares. And until you're going to use it, it's really not going to help you. So start off with something basic. Don't make it complex.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to take your advice already because I'm like, okay, so tell us your secret. Is it Asana? Like, what is it? And you're like, it's a Google Doc. I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, makes perfect sense. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm going to be like, hey, Kirtana, I need your coaching because I need something simple. Can you tell me what the simplest solution is? Because I feel like you're just so good at just saying like the obvious, like for us, like it's not, because like, oh, maybe it's like a high-end software, like $300 a month. And it's just, oh, it's just a Google Doc, maybe an Excel sheet. Yeah. Just put the task down and then that's the SOP.
Exactly. It's like brain overthink.
Yeah. Oh my God. Crazy. So can you tell a bit more what you do? Like, what are you doing exactly? Like how you can help people and just let them know, because it's awesome what you do, but it's just super complex as well. Like seeing through all the processes. So what exactly are you helping businesses with right now?
Yeah. So that's a great, I try to simplify it because I think if I can make a child understand it, then it's
massive,
easy, right?
But it's really good.
So at the moment, what I'm trying to do is I am trying to help business owners who already have product market fit,
Mm-hmm.
who are in the 50K to 100K per month, and who are kind of strapped for time because they're kind of trying to manage every single thing. I want to kind of become their COO or CTO, kind of try to help them run the business, essentially being the integrator of the business so they could get back to being the visionary and work on, the bigger picture things.
Mm-hmm.
And for everybody else, I plan to start a YouTube channel, and I plan to kind of blog around topics like this. So I am one person. I can't work with everybody, but what
Yeah.
I can try to do is try to help as many as possible. Just by having this conversation, you probably had a little ideas with, okay, she's right. Why am I complicating this?
Yeah.
Just getting your gears moving in the right direction. So for that, they could definitely go ahead and check out my website and check out the content that I put out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So just to dissect the two and talk about a bit the YouTube channel, I think honestly, if you ever start a YouTube channel, it should be Keep It Simple Stupid. I think that would be the name or something, Keeping It Simple with Kirtana or something. Just for you, maybe, I don't know.
That's a great name.
Yeah, because I think it's just the tiny tasks so that you really can look at and be like, oh my God, you're right. Why am I complicating this? I think you have such a great vision for that and just have the ability to see that and not going into crazy details, right? So I think that's your superpower. I was just looking at something and like, hey, a Google Doc, okay? So that's really, really good. Just a pro tip, I think that would be really good if you do that. But talking about your job as an integrator for businesses, you said you want to work with like 50K to 100. So definitely that's a well-established business. And then really make sure that the owner is the visionary and not stuck in the cycle, right? That's what we're saying.
Yes.
And do you have like a team for that, or just you for now? Because that seemed to me like a very hard, daunting task to take that on as a CTO or COO.
Yes. So at the moment, I'm going solo because I really want to prove that this makes complete sense.
Yes.
And which is why I can only work with a handful of entrepreneurs. Probably it's going to be one or two in the beginning, just to find their bottlenecks, help them work on that, and move from there. And maybe over time, once I have an SOP of my process, then I could bring in a team to help more people. So the idea is, again, not to complicate it, not to try to get 5 clients and not have product market fit. The idea first is to prove the concept, ensure this transformation, and collect case studies, and then slowly SOP it out and bring a team to help you. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, that's so. I wish you good luck. I think that's a really good thing that you're taking on. It's also like a super daunting one. So working with you, are you also like, this is essentially a consulting role that you would be taking in like a business, right?
Not so much a consulting role. It's going to be more part of the business, because I'm going to be a contractor in the business, but how an ad agency takes care of the media buying side of it, I am going to be the integrator who's trying to constantly look for the bottlenecks which are kind of limiting money or kind of wasting the business owner's time. So these are the two metrics always. Does it save time? Does it make money? And if the problem does not do either of this, we're not going to look at this problem. We're going to come back to it. So that's the idea.
I feel like every business needs you. Every business needs your integration or operational. It's just, yeah. I would be like, okay, each business needs Kirtana because she can look at the business and be like, okay, guys, we don't need this. We need to remove this. We need to outsource that. I think. So you are taking on a big challenge. I think if you could clone yourself, I think that would be very beneficial.
Yes, until technology gets there.
Yeah, hopefully soon. But again, also, I wanted to ask you about kind of before our call, you spoke about a free masterclass that you made for the listeners that they can go to kind of get more solutions on the bottlenecks of the businesses. Can you talk more about that as well? What you
Yeah.
prepared for the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I was talking to you, I did a video. I was like, it's not the most perfect, but we had this chat as to, hey, perfect is just
Yes,
progress.
it's amazing. I watched it. I learned so much already.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. You got the early sneak peek.
Yes.
So, the idea with this whole lead magnet or this masterclass really is to basically help people see what the symptoms are, which are killing a business. And when you can see the symptom, because it's not like flu, right? It's not like you're going to keep coughing. It's not like you're going to be sick. It's just going to be ill. And
Yes.
when you start understanding, oh, this is a bottleneck, or this is a bottleneck, or this is a bottleneck, then as a business owner, you are more informed as to, okay, these are the pillars that I'm really supposed to look for in my business. If I strengthen this, the business automatically is stronger, the foundational elements. So the idea is to kind of, I've laid down 14 bottlenecks, that could either make or break your business or really slow down your growth. And I would definitely recommend everybody to check it out and give me your feedback. Really, is that a bottleneck that's troubling you, and how are you dealing with it, if that is what it is?
Yeah. Okay. So listeners, go to Kirtana's website. We're going to include that in the description, I think. So everyone can go check it out and just listen to the 12 bottlenecks and tell us what you think. Tell us if it's really something that is a problem for you, and what do you think about her approach. Also, I think just for the listeners, because you mentioned that right now you're only taking a limited amount of clients because you want to make sure that once you take someone, you really, really immerse in yourself to helping them kind of solve the problems. Do you still have openings for this month or next month? Like, do you still have availabilities to take on clients, or you are completely maxed out? And just for anyone who wants to have you to look at their businesses right now.
So at the moment, I am looking to work with one or two. So there is definitely that opening. And the reality of it is, it's not like a monthly opening of sorts, right? Like once I start working with business, it's a recurring thing, because it's not like problems are going to show up in Jan and not in Feb.
Okay, thank you for putting me back to my point. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, so I definitely do have openings for one or two.
Yes, you do. Okay, so have you thought about like how long does the process of working with you would be like then? If it's not like, obviously I'm coming from the agency owner world, we like do 1 month, 2 month campaigns. I'm like, okay, do you want to do like 3 months, 5? But it's like, it's a monthly engagement. So that's why I'm like thinking in months. But obviously you're so right. It's not just the problem comes and goes. It's either comes and goes, but then it still is a problem, right? That you need to come in and help solve. So how would that be looking like essentially if you started working with an X company tomorrow? That would be like an engagement, right? A monthly engagement or like recurring help.
So yeah, that's a great question. So my idea really is to work with a business for at least 6 to 12 months to really scale them to the next level. And if they do scale, their problems are going to get better and more improvised. So I want to, the vehicle I'm going to choose right now is going to be a business which is really looking to grow and has the same hunger that I have, because if they don't want to scale and they want it to be a lifestyle business, me going in there is not going to help them. But if they really want to scale, and that's the owner wants to get back to being a visionary and not working 70 to 80 hours a week, definitely bringing me on will help them. Because I work in the business, they work on the business, and timeline wise, it's hard because they could be at 100K and maybe in 6 months they could be at 200K. Then it could be that maybe we have to come up with new offers to test product market fit. So which is why I really want to blog in YouTube about this, so it can help more business owners. And I don't want entrepreneurial burnout to be the reason you quit your business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for helping all business owners. Do you have like, you mentioned already, I think we can wrap this up by saying this, but you mentioned already the fact that you want to work with business owners that are committed to to change and to grow and find out and how to fine tune their businesses to avoid burnout. So that's one qualifying, like for your ideal clients that you want to work with. Like you already mentioned the 50 to 100K a month, right? And the fact that they need to be on board with growing your businesses and accepting the fact that it's going to be a long-term engagement, not just like a quick fix, like there's the solution by no. So it's like really in an ongoing 6 months to 12 months engagement. Do you have any other like qualifying traits that you're looking for in your ideal client besides this
product market fit? And the price point they are at, because it does not make sense to bring in an integrator too soon, because probably the business can't afford it at that stage. And there's not too many operational problems to deal with. And really somebody who's collaborative in the beginning, because I can come in as an integrator, but in the beginning, you're supposed to be my eyes and ears of the business. And I don't want to change something too quickly to disrupt the business, because that's not why I came in here. So in the beginning, every business owner I'm going to work with has to be collaborative. It cannot be that they said, hey, we hired you, why don't you fix this? It doesn't work that way. I need you to sit with me so I kind of understand the ropes of your business. So then, you could leave me and then I could kind of take it forward.
Yeah, so you need that collaborative. It's not just outsourcing you that, okay, you fix it, but really being bored and wanting to change that aspect as well. Okay, I think that's really important.
And you really also understand when you get on a call with them, the chemistry that you have, because some business owners are extremely egoistical and they don't want to change anything in that.
You think it's perfect, right? It's already perfect. I don't know what you want to change.
I know, right? What are you going to do? So, I mean, if they're not ready to change too quickly, it's always a bad fit. So you have to have the chemistry to kind of, want to change and move to the next level.
Yeah, so you're also very, very selective of who you work with. It's not everyone. You also want to make sure that chemistry is there and the right fit, and that's your own qualifying process of who you want to work with. Like you're also very selective. I think that's important to be selective with that as well.
Because the way I see it is, if I'm going to pick a bad business and I'm going to waste my time with them, I'm probably, I could have helped a real business owner who could kind of move their business forward. And I just wasted my time and the business owner's time. And, this other person just lost out because I couldn't work with them.
So I wanted to talk to you about the fact that you said you want to avoid entrepreneurial burnout, essentially. So do we have to wait until we get to that point? Or what are the signs that someone is getting burned out? Like, what do you think are the telltale signs that, okay, I need to have someone to look at this whole thing because it's too much? Like, what are the signs according to you?
The number of hours you're working. Are you working on your weekends? Are you accessible to your clients 24/7? I'm looking at you.
Don't. I stopped. No, I didn't. I'm still doing calls in the weekends, but I'm getting better because I stopped replying at midnight. Okay, I stopped doing that.
That's great. That's a start. Yeah. So definitely that, and you are probably at your kids' football game, but you're not at the game. You're immediately checking your phone if you have emails or, is there any fires that you must put out? That is a telltale sign for sure. And stress, really, like, do you have trouble sleeping? Are you stressing too much? Are you worried about whether the next payment is going to come through? I think really you will know, because you're probably just going to be so invested in your business. And workaholic is not a very good name because so basically set boundaries, and your business is supposed to make you money. It's not supposed to drain you out. If that's the case, get a job. It's going to pay you more. So when you start thinking like that, then you kind of start building your business like that.
Yeah, I wanted to say, okay, maybe if one of your eyes start twitching and like you're losing hair, that's like a that's like a telltale sign, but like yours is so much better.
No, yours is better. For sure. I used to have this doll which had that problem. So that's really? What I knew it was. When I started twitching, I'm like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like when you are like super irritated, no one can, hey, hello, come out. Like, I think I'm so guilty of that because my friends are not even inviting me out anymore. They're like, I know you're not coming. When we call you out, it's just we know the answer already. I think it's just so bad.
Yeah, I think you start with 12, slowly move to 5. I mean, okay, maybe that's too much. Start with 11, then move to 10 and move to 9. And so, you'll start slowly being not reachable post 5. And the reason this is so important is because it plays. Like if you don't have good, like business is a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yes.
And if you work 20 hours one day, that's going to spill over and you're going to be less productive the next day. And how are you going to continue on this marathon if you don't sustain your energy? So yeah, you got to really conserve and preserve.
Yeah, and I think that was super important when you said like just keep those tasks that are the most important in your business and try to see where you can outsource. And when you outsource, make sure you start with the smaller task and just really trying to build up that confidence of even outsourcing. I think that's for some business owners, that's just a huge step to take right away, right? So I think that those are super, super important what you said about just step by step and looking at the issues and trying to delegate the smaller ones and then slowly do it, go up, scale up. Do you also do consultations? I wanted to ask you this, like, because you said you do this integrating work. What if someone just wants you to be not like a long term, but they have one issue, one specific issue? Can they turn to you, and how that would look like?
I would definitely be open to doing consultations, but where I see a problem with that is, if they are already too strapped for time and they can't execute, that would be a problem. As long as somebody can execute whatever I'm kind of telling them, I'll be happy to help them out. I'll definitely be happy to jump on a call just to be their business therapist and be like, hey, tell me what business problem is affecting you.
What's business problem you're experiencing today? Yeah. Do you see that often? Do you see that often though, that you somehow went in, given advice and no one did anything about it? And how do you process that? Is it like something that frustrates you when someone is just not taking the advice that you give them?
Yeah, so I think before I quickly would judge them, I'd probably talk to them and say, hey, what's happening? Like, is there something that's not right in your life? Like, is there a pressing family issue, a personal issue, really? That's kind of, preventing this action. Why are you laughing?
I just imagine like my cat is, I don't know, not feeling well or something. And I had like pressing family issues. Like my dog is like not feeling good. And I don't know. That's why I'm not doing, what you said to me.
Makes sense. So how
sorry.
dog really? Really. So that would be my next question. But really, I would try to dig deep. I would try to see, hey, is this really a contextual problem? Like, is it timing problem, or is it just that you're lazy and you think this is a waste of time? So the sooner we get to that, it's easier for me to say, hey, maybe you're not ready for change. And usually, it's not that they're not ready for change. People are not ready for big change. Like they've built a baby from scratch, and the last thing they want is somebody to kind of dress their baby up. So I understand it's not something that you want. So that's why I would start off with the tiniest change, which is so easy to do. And it's not really hard. It's like one push-up. So that's what I'm going to ask for in the beginning and try to get the momentum going rather than, throw something big at them and expect them not to do, because I wouldn't do a big task too. Like the activation energy is too much. So start small. And if they still don't do that, then I'm going to be like, hey, maybe we're not a good fit.
Yeah. Do you feel that do you feel like entrepreneurs lie a lot when you try to dissect the problem and deflecting like, well, no, that's not, that's not the issue. Like, do you feel like there needs to be like a sense of honesty, like in the working relationship where they are like vulnerable in sharing what are those issues and not just be like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, it's all it's just perfect, and the whole thing is collapsing in the
Yes.
back. And like, do you feel like that's hard to achieve, that kind of like trust with entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so this is literally like, going on a date with somebody. So if on the first date you're going to ask them for their hand in marriage, they're going to freak out. They're going to be like, hey, I don't even know you.
Yeah.
So you start off small. You take them out for dinner, and you probably see if you have good chemistry, and then you kind of ask for a second date. So that's really the way I would approach a relationship as well. I would not come in and try to win your trust from day one. I don't expect you to trust me 100% because you really haven't seen my results. So I would kind of get the first result and kind of build my trust equity with the owner over time so they could let their guard down. Because obviously there's going to be that little bit of resistance in the beginning, and I understand that's a human thing. So I don't want to fight it. I want to kind of swim with the water, swim with the current, not against the current.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. That's a good analogy. The first date, you don't ask someone to marry you. Yeah,
exactly.
And then building that trust that gradually comes, and then perhaps they would open up more and get more vulnerable with you. Because I think without that aspect of being honest with about their business and about their sales and about their situation, I think without it, you cannot help them, right? You have to know exactly.
Exactly. And the way to kind of double check their honesty is if they come back and say, hey, I tried email marketing, that didn't work. So the first question would not be, okay, let's move on to the next thing. I would be like, did you track your numbers? What did your numbers look like? Can we look at that? And if they say, hey, no, I didn't track it correctly, so then I'm going to be like, hey, that's a tracking issue. Can we fix that first? So, start smaller where it's not such a big issue, but they get it because I'm logically explaining it to them without saying, no, you're wrong.
So, yeah, that's so good. That's so good. So basically, instead of telling them, okay, that's not, you're wrong, but that you're trying to lead them to the solution by asking questions and then detecting, letting them figure out, right, by themselves. It's not like, no, when someone's claiming, well, I did everything and it didn't happen. Okay, name me 10 things that you did. Okay, I did like 5 things. Okay, name the 5 things, right? And just like, okay, I guess I just did one and that didn't work. Well, like, it makes sense when you go to depth and just letting them figure it out instead of just you putting them in the blast and be like, oh, that didn't work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, numbers don't lie. You could lie, numbers don't lie. So that's what we always rely on.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. They can't, unfortunately. They have to have just the fact. Have you always been working with numbers in your career? Because you mentioned a lot the numbers and the figures and how they don't lie, and how do you trust the hard data? Have you always had this kind of approach to look at things logically and rationally instead of trying to understand the emotional part of things?
So I think in the beginning, this is a great question because it takes me back to when I was starting off with this entrepreneurial journey. In the beginning, obviously, I made a lot of mistakes. It was not this data driven. I was data driven on the marketing side of it because that's what I was doing. I was doing media buying on Pinterest, and that's the part I was really data driven. But I was not data driven on the business side of it. And over time, I understood how you have to just basically take the same skills of your marketing and apply it to your business. Because if you're not getting 1% CTR, there's something that there's a creative problem or a targeting problem.
Yes.
But if you have you're not making consistent money, what is the reason for that? Money is really a measure of how successful you are in your business or not. So is that consistent? So basically, being data driven is what is it's the black and white really of life. Like otherwise emotions are extremely gray. And all I'm trying to say is try to make business black and white because it's simple. Business is simple. As long as you're making more money than what it's costing you, you're profitable. So it's simple math, really.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to look at it, and without getting into the emotions of, yes, but I love this idea so much. Yeah, but the idea is not showing results. So you might as well try something else, right? I think I remember even just because I just had this thought in my head. I think with Elon Musk, when he founded SpaceX, they said the chance of success was 3%. Like
Right.
they calculated the chance of succeeding of the company, and that was 3%. And even going to the business, knowing that you have 3% to succeed is very, very ballsy, but it did work out. So do you think that because sometimes, even though there are hard data, there could still be a chance of things working out at the end? Like, what is your take on that?
For sure, because we are in the online business world, and definitely with COVID and everything, everything's moving more and more online. So whenever I'm speaking about anybody with being an integrator, I always am thinking about the online business world, and really the pillars really stay the same. So if I were to apply everything I know to an offline business, maybe I could help them in a few areas, but not really scale, because an offline business can only take so many customers. So there is definitely clear indicators with how successful you're going to be. You can look out and see, are there other people selling the service? Are they making money? And SpaceX is one of a kind, right? Like there's no other business for SpaceX to kind of compare against.
Yes.
But all of our businesses are not that unique, unfortunately. So it's easier for us to get a little more data and starting point. But only thing that's important is product market fit. Like if you can identify that your offer is going to make, essentially go back and solve people's problems, like Zig Ziglar says, right? If you provide value to enough people will value you. So really solve problems. That's what people pay money for.
I wanted to ask you about because you are in the digital marketing space, and I think if you could agree with me, this space is it's moving extremely fast. Like it's really hard to keep track of the new trends, and everything is moving so fast. Like what do you do to kind of keep up with the trends, and what do you think where the future is headed, especially with Facebook? Because I've been hearing people, oh yeah, Facebook is dead, and moving into different platforms. Like, what do you think about that as far as the future goes in digital marketing space?
So to answer the first part of your question, the way to kind of keep in check with trends is to obviously invest in programs with good masterminds. So you have other people in the same space, and you could always verify what's really coming up, what's not coming up. And also kind of just follow the platform's blog. Like Facebook has their own information center where you could kind of dig in to see what they're up to, which really are signals as to where the platform is heading. And I don't know if Facebook is going to die, because a lot of businesses are still making a lot of money from it.
Yes.
So the ones who are probably saying this are people who are not making money from Facebook. So yeah, don't pay attention to them. And I think where this is going to go, I think just today I read an announcement by Mark Zuckerberg where he wants to launch something called Metaverse, which really is the virtual reality side of things, where I could really be having lunch with my friends together with my, glasses. So Black Mirror is getting real.
Yeah, that's scary. I have to look that trend up, like that idea up, because that's just I haven't heard of it, but
Exactly.
It sounds like a Black Mirror episode. Yes, definitely.
Exactly, right? Like he wants to have offers there. People could buy stuff. People could go dancing. People could go on dates. Essentially, he says, inspired from the pandemic, because people are not stepping out. But I don't know where it's going to go. So like Facebook is either trying to make things work, or they're trying to buy businesses which are making it work. So
Yeah,
Facebook is here to stay, and the foundations of business really stay the same. Kind of grab the people who are your customers through attention, bring them into your ecosystem, and then give them an opt-in. It's very simple. The basics stay the same, but it's only the platform which changes, and that is something you don't have to worry too much about, at least at this stage.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we can just start wrapping up soon. But what would be one piece of advice that you would give to that burnout, that struggling business owner right now? Just where to start? Like, what would that be? What would that advice be? If you could give them.
Okay, that's a great question. It's a thinker for sure. So it's really hard. So what really worked for me when I was really stressing was, I think you have to start having more preventive approaches. Like I started meditating, and that made a huge difference to me. And I've been meditating for over a year, and now I started doing psychotherapy thanks to you. So have healthy practices. If it's very hard when you're in the loop to kind of break away from it. But however, if you're in the loop, reach out for help. If it's too difficult for you to handle, talk to a therapist, talk to somebody else. Be part of a good mastermind where you can reach out to coaches and ask them questions if you're stuck, because these are people who already kind of walked the same path and are ahead of you in the game. And maybe sometimes just turn off everything and don't respond for 2 days. Your business is not going to die. Your clients are going to understand. You could always just say, hey, there's an emergency. Firstly, just get your footing back.
Yes.
And once you get your footing back, then you can kind of look at your problem in new light. But don't go continuously with high stress days. That's going to break you sooner than you think.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here and having this first conversation with me. I think there's so much value that you've given us and for the listeners as well. I may have to do like a summary of everything for people to be able to read as well. Do you have a website that you can give us? What's the name of your website? I think you can give us that as well. So, or an email that people can contact you if they want to. Can you give us just your contact details in general for the listeners?
Absolutely. So the website is just my name. It's kirtanadevatha.com. And my email address is info@gethelpsavetime.com. So my digital agency is GHST Digital, which is Get Help Save Time. So I'm using the same email address. So info@gethelpsavetime.com.
Yeah. And so they can, are they able to book a call with you, or they can email you right away? And if they want to contact you, right?
So currently I do have a booking page on my website. So you could book a call with me there. However, if that gets taken off, or once I kind of find a few good clients, then it's going to be hard. Then maybe it's better to reach me in email.
So thank you so much, Kirtana, for being here. I'm going to leave your email and availabilities and contact details in the description. So make sure that you contact Kirtana. She is amazing. If you need help with optimizing, automating, and just someone who looks at your business and tells you exactly where you can do and do better and optimize those part of your business. So just contact her. She knows her work really well.